All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Welcome. Welcome to our pillow talk with Dr. Dietz with me. So we like to have a little fun with the name of it today. So we're talking about sleep, and I'm sure every one of you knows someone who struggled with trouble sleeping, getting to sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up not feeling rested. I mean, everybody knows somebody at some point in time, and you've been there yourself. So we're going to tell this. This is what we picture, right? This is what we want. Just that nice, just right. You know, when I go to sleep and have a great night's sleep, be able to sleep through the whole thing. But that's not always the case. So we're going to be going through a lot of the reasons why and what you need to do, and then at the end I have I'll call it Dr. Dietz's 20 tips to have a great night's sleep. All right. So we're going to go through all that. So I'm going to give you some actual practical things. I'm going to give you some science behind everything here too, of what's going on, and we're going to take you through what you need to do to make sure that you're getting the rest that you need. So with that, so first, sleep is all about recovery. This is the whole point of your sleep, is for your body to recover. Because we're going all day long, we need time to actually recover, heal. This is what your body does, its healing is when you're sleeping. If you're not sleeping enough, guess what you're not doing? You're not healing enough. Does that make sense? This is when your body's down, it's not actively doing something. It's just time to recover, it's time to catch up, it's time to do all those things. So what does recovery mean? It's a return to a normal state of health, mind, and strength. It's also time for your brain to shut off, right? Because some people, our brains are just constantly going all day long. That's some people's problem with getting to sleep, right? Is their brain, they can't shut their brain off. It's just constantly going. Guys, we're a little more simple-minded. We don't have this problem as much, but again, it's all about recovery. So how do we get that recovery? So recovery habits are a reflection of your health. So if you're not able to recover properly, that means your body isn't in a great state of health. Does that make sense? Right? Pretty simple. So if you don't recover, that means you don't heal. And your health is your most valuable asset in your life, right? So without your health, what do you have? Nothing, right? Doesn't matter how much money's in the bank. Doesn't matter where your kids go to school, who your best friend is. None of those things matter if you don't have your health. So we're talking about your health tonight, and how your body heals. We know it heals through sleep. So if you're not, a lot of people, like, especially if they're working out a lot, I'm overtraining. No, it's you're under recovering, right? It's not that you're overtraining, you're not recovering and spending enough time recovering. And you see pro athletes, and I work with a lot of Olympic level professional athletes. A big part of their thing, just as important as their training, is their recovery time. They need to recover before they go back out on the mat, go back out on the field, because they keep burning it at both ends. What happens? And this is one of the things that just have always blown my mind. You look at, like, say, the medical field. What do they do with the new doctors, right? Right out of school, what do they do with the new doctors? They get the worst shift, and then they got these 24-hour shifts. I don't know about you, but I don't function my best when I'm sleep deprived. No one does, right? But yet, let's put people's lives in your hands, sleep deprive you, and have you if you can make a mistake that moves 1 decimal point over one spot, you can kill somebody. That doesn't make much sense to me. But that's kind of the world we're living in. Is that good? Is that okay? No, I see a problem with that. But again, we're under recovering. If you don't have that time to recover, how is your body going to heal? So, what does the recovery look like? Okay, recovery looks like sleep. It looks like your spinal care, your home care, your adjustments. We're talking about that a little bit more. Your downtime, your mental downtime, right? We're talking about how do you get that peace? How do you feel at peace? Because you're get that anxious, ducks in the pond. Your legs are always going constantly. Your mind's constantly going. You can't do that. Prayer. Give yourself that margin in your schedule, even looking at what's going on with your schedule. How is that constantly going on? Are you just constantly going and you never have time to shut down? That's a big problem. Your nutrition. Are you eating foods that are going to allow your body to heal? Are they healing foods? Or are they going to excitatory foods? We're talking about caffeine. We're talking about alcohol, how those have a big factor in there. Even water has a factor in how you sleep. Right? So if you have too much water, then you got to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. Sometimes if you have to get up 3-4 times a night, well, that's not helping your sleep, right? So we're talking about that too. Exercise, so vital in your sleep. And a lot of people forget that part about their sleep, that exercise is very important in your sleep. We're going to go through that too. Stretching, also huge. This is something that we I don't know anyone that stretches enough on a regular basis. I know I don't. That's something I struggle with. Kind of gets put on the back burner. We all have a lot of those things in our life that kind of just, oh, we know we should do it, but we don't do it enough. Something really big on that. So, your recovery habits are like a reflection of your health. So here's 9 signs that you need better sleep. Your blood pressure starts to increase, right? Anyone know if anybody with high blood pressure? Right? You're unable to focus or remember things. Nice. You have frequent coughs, colds. You sleep late in late on the weekends. Your blood sugar keeps creeping up, diabetes, things like that, right? You can't shed those pounds, you can't lose the weight, you're having trouble losing weight. You can't consume, you need to consume caffeine all day to keep going, right? You can't stop hitting the snooze button. You can't get up in the morning, right? You're irritable or moody. Raise your hand if you have at least one of those things. If you have at least 2 of those on that list. So if your hand's not raised, you're lying right now, I can tell you, right? Because exactly, I'm like, this list right here, this should describe pretty much everybody in this room at a given time, because you're not getting enough sleep. I know you're not, because I know you guys. This is most of you, right? Most of you guys came in with one of these issues here, right? So this is the things we have. So here's the problem: is man's the only animal who intentionally deprives ourselves of sleep. Pretty much anything else, they're ready, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to sleep. So a lot of us end up like this if I get up this real quick. Yeah. This is a lot of us here, right? These videos, right? I'm just gonna try to you guys been driving before, right? You have this problem? They're like, yeah. Come on, only a little bit longer, right? That's not safe, right? We've all felt this before. Fall asleep standing up yet, right?
In the bucket. That'd be a money right now.
Fell asleep with head in the bucket. Yeah. I like this one here too. A birthday party. A cupcake in her hand. You wake up. Okay. Right? The next one's more like, not this one, but the next one I think is more me here after this. At the game. Anyways, it's like, so these are you guys have all done that before, right? And you see those, you see it with kids a lot more, you'll see it, but we're the same way. We keep pushing ourselves too much, and then we can't focus, we can't think, nothing's working right, and then you start getting just slapstick goofy, right? Because nothing's like, so we get through all those things. So this is that tangled web we weave. If you over here real quick, sleep, anxiety, depression, and medications. Anxiety and depression are usually highly correlated with insomnia, right? So not getting enough sleep. As insomnia worsens, anxiety and frustration mount, leading to a vicious cycle. Those desperate enough for sleep offer to over-medicate, which doesn't treat the insomnia at all. Instead, it masks it on underlying issues in a narcotic haze that can lead to addiction and even more sleepless nights. This is why, so taking that medication to try and knock you out, taking the NyQuil or whatever, right? I've heard stories of thank God this didn't happen, but they give them some whiskey or something like that to the kid to put them to sleep if they're cranky or something like that. Give them I'm like, crazy, right? We wouldn't do that nowadays. But we do the same thing with NyQuil, though, right? A lot of times we'll try and get this so they can knock them out so they fall asleep. So that's not any better, really. And so it's not ever addressing the problem or the cause of the problem. So what do we need to do about that? So it all comes down to time, duration, and intensity. And how are you getting a good quality sleep? Is it for the right amount of time? All those things, same just like exercise, all these things, time, duration, intensity, all that. So actually I want to go through something with you here. A little bit, we'll try. Bear with me, I'm left-handed and a doctor, and it's a dry erase board. It's not pretty, but we're going to try and make it work. So we're talking about our mental state, right? We have a mental state. So we're going to triangle here, so we'll put your state. Sorry, it's not pretty like I said. Can't read it. So we look at your mental state. So this is your focus. I go through things. So there's kind of 3 different factors, but that's why I have a triangle here, kind of 3 different factors that affect all this, right? So if we want to, increase your mental state, increase your more awake, right, state, there's different things that we can do to affect that. So I have a couple different things here. So I'm going to give you some kind of categories. We have like some, well, focus. We'll have language. And then we'll do physiology. All right, so we look at these. Now, of these, the biggest one we're talking about tonight is physiology. There's like a lot of these. But first of all, we'll start with language. So what are the things that we talk about language? What is your language? That's the things that we ask, questions we ask, that's your metaphors, that's incantations, things that we tell ourselves over and over again, right? There's that, if you tell yourself you're good enough, or you're bad enough, either way, or you're bad, either way you're right. Because you're just telling yourself that's what it is, right? Whatever you think is what it is. And so what are you telling yourself? Are you giving yourself good positive message, or are you beating yourself up constantly? What are those things that you're putting, what's the language? What are the things you're putting in your brain to be able to go to sleep, right? Or to even just go throughout your day, right? If you're telling yourself, I'm stupid, I'm not smart, no one likes me, right? Well, people tell themselves that, right? I mean, look at what you tell yourself when you look in the mirror in the morning. Right? A lot of people don't say very nice things, right? If you said that to your best friend, you would no longer have a friend, right? The 7 things we talk to ourselves are that. So, focus. These are your rules, your rhythms. These are your values, your identity, how you actually see yourself itself. But the one I want to talk about the most here is I want to talk about physiology. So, because there's 3 different ways that we can actually change our mental state, our focus. Can you ever have a moment when you're just on and everything's clicking and everything's going good? That's when you're in state. You're focused. You're singularly focused. You got it going here. But we can change that in a couple of different ways. We can change it chemically, right? We can caffeine, or we can take some medications. It's going to change our body chemistry. It's going to be able to change our focus. You can take drugs and hallucinogens, right? And that kind of change the focus. And suddenly you're off in La La Land someplace, right? You can do that, right? So they can change your, you drink too much, you can, right? Like, do all those things. That can change our body chemistry. One way we can do it is we can change our physiology. Now, your physiology is your body movement, your state that you're in, how you're. Now, this is the easiest way to redirect our brain is through physiology. It's the easiest. So, anyone here know what I know Maya knows the answer to this. No, Brittany knows the answer to this. What's the? I bet Laura probably even knows this one. What's the easiest way to change your day? What's the answer to everything here in the office? What will solve your problem? Solve almost every problem, I joke.
Burpees.
Burpees, right? Yeah. Burpee. Everybody knows what burpee is. You basically drop down on the floor, do a push-up, jump up in the air, right? Everyone hates burpees.
Don't think that.
But exactly, until you change your mindset about it. But that's a whole other part of it. But it's physiology. Why do I say that? Well, guess what? You're tired. Do some burpees. You're gonna be awake now, right? Yeah. Guess what? You're awake. You're just too amped up. Do some burpees. You'll be tired, right? You'll be breathing heavy. Burpees. You're sad. Do some burpees. Yeah, you would give me something. I'm like,
forget your scan card. You do burpees.
You forgot your scan card. Do some burpees, right? See, that solves some problems real quick, right? That's the way jokes. Burpees solve all your problems, right? Doing physical activity, changing your mindset. So one of the things that we have you do a lot of times when I do a workshop is one of the very first things we do is I'll have you do something like high five your neighbor. I'll have you stand up. I'll have you do some run in place. I'll have you jog. I'll have you do some punches. I'll do some movement. Because what does that do? It changes your state. Now I have an attentive crowd. Now I have someone that's actually going to pay attention to what I'm talking about. So if you don't participate, guess what we get to do?
Burpees.
Well, I wasn't making you burpees, but I'll make you do some movement, right? So we'll change your physiology. Does that make sense how we do this, right? So these are all things that change our physiology and change our mental state, which is a huge part of being able to sleep, rest, and recover. You guys all follow me here? So that was my first little triangle for you here. So moving on, we want to get into, so how much sleep do you need, right? And some people, well, I don't need that much sleep, or some people, I need way more sleep. right? A lot of people, and there is a range in reality, but like a newborn, they sleep all the time, right? All they do is eat, sleep, and poop, right? That's what we always say, right? So up to 18 hours a day, 1 to 12 months, 14 to 18 hours, you can see it gets through 5 to 12 years, 9 to 11 hours, adolescents, 9 to 10 hours. Now, don't tell a teenager that because they'll try and tell you they need like 13 hours of sleep, 14 hours of sleep, because they want to sleep till noon every day, right? And they want to go to bed until too late, right? That's a teenager. I have one at home now. So, but you know, then we get into but then we get adults, especially early older, 7 to 9 hours. So you've already started 8 hours of sleep. That's for most people. That's what we need. That's what most people need, a good 8 hours of sleep. Now, sometimes elderly get retired. If you're not very active physiology throughout the day, guess what? If y'all are just sitting around all day, well, of course you're not going to be as tired at night, right? So that again, activity is very important in this. So, a pregnant woman, they're going to need a little bit more. Their body's doing a lot of extra work there. Need some more recovery time, right? So, does that make sense on that? Now, this is what most people need. Now, say you're working third shift or swing shift or something like that. That's going to throw a lot of things off too. So, we're going to talk about circadian rhythms. You guys have heard of that before, right? So, we're going to talk about that here too. So, we'll get into that. Don't worry. I can't tell if to take you serious or not with that shirt, so. It says sarcasm across the shirt, so I don't know if I can, whatever he does, I don't know if he's yes or fooling around or not. So, how much sleep do you need? So we all need sleep. We all need the proper amount of recovery. And the more active you are, they're probably gonna need a little bit more recovery, right? If you're just sitting around at a computer all day, it's not, if you're not engaging your mind. But guess what burns more calories than anything? Mental activity, right? So this is all part of it. So why am I telling you? So you have two different parts of your nervous system. You can see, we even have some of them outlined down here. You see the dotted lines and the solid lines on, the blue lines and the black lines on this poster. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. So here's your biology lesson for today. You have your two different parts of your nervous system. Your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. Your sympathetic is more of your fight or flight. Your parasympathetic is more your rest and digest. You guys ever heard of that before? So, you know, the lion chasing me, sympathetic, shut down everything else, kick all the energy to my muscles in my legs to get the heck out of here, right? The lion chasing me, right? But parasympathetic is more your, okay, my digestion, things that you don't have to think about, things that you can't really control much of, they just kind of happen on their own. Does that make sense? Kind of put it in perspective. So we have your parasympathetic, this is your rest, this is your heal, recover, your immune function, so this is fighting cancer, things like that, your natural killer cells, bacteria, viruses, remember information, your organs healing, your tissues, digesting your food. These are things that kind of happen on their own. You really don't change it much by your thought process. But you can change more of these things by, fight or flight, you're running, you release that adrenaline. Cortisol is released. Cortisol is actually a hormone your body produces, especially when you're in that sympathetic fight or flight. It tells your body to shut off and stop digesting. And this is one of those people that, unfortunately, so many people are stuck in this fight or flight all day, every day. And so they're producing all this cortisol. So you've heard it's the fat loss one. It's so you don't lose fat. So you don't burn fat because your body's producing cortisol, telling your body not to digest, not to burn things. It's telling us, just get the heck out of here. So always in this heightened state, right? Again, this is another reason why we can't sleep. Increase your cholesterol, decrease your immune system, stops your digestion, poor memory. So you get kind of opposites in a lot of ways. But we need both, right, to be able to function properly. So these are some of the things why you're tired. So circadian rhythms. So everything has a rhythm in life. Just like we look at the ocean, right? There's your high tide and low tide, right? And I was in Florida here a couple weeks ago, and we were my daughter wanted to try and surf. I've never surfed in my life, but I understand it enough that the basics of how to do it. I'm standing this deep in the water, helping her try and surf. She got up right away the first time, but we realized that, okay, the rhythm of the waves, okay, there's this one coming in, this one coming in, now there's gonna be a quick little double, and then it's gonna be a little break, and then there's gonna be another one. It just kept happening that same way all the time. It's a rhythm. Your heartbeat has a rhythm, right? Your healing has a rhythm. Your sleep has a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm and everything. And that's why there's a rhythm in your schedule and your appointments here, right? There's a rhythm to it. Your body has this rhythm of how it heals, how it goes up and down. So your circadian rhythm affects every cell in your body, how they work, influences that sleep and wake cycle. And we're gonna go through that a little bit. So, well, I just threw it off the backside. Sorry. So we're gonna go through kind of your rhythm here a little bit. But your abnormal rhythms, that's when we start seeing obesity, that's when we start seeing insomnia, that's when we start seeing when those rhythms get off. And how do we do that? By the things we just talked about. These things change that rhythm and can change, our thoughts. We can change that. Our language changes that. Our physiology can change those rhythms and how our body is working. And it changes our sympathetic and parasympathetic cycles. So we have the circadian rhythm. So say you go to sleep, so we wake up in the morning, or we're going up, okay, need to sleep's going up, but our urge to sleep's going down, up a little bit, or you're after lunch kind of thing, especially, then it's down. We're pretty awake right here, about 8 o'clock, then it starts to, really goes, we start getting tired really quickly. I don't know about you, but about 9 o'clock, it's like I'm a switch. I'm on or off pretty much. I'm ready to go. And so we get to this point, so we're really that urge to sleep, and then it kind of, you see this kind of waves like this. This is our natural wave. And we're made to be awake in sunlight, right? And we're made to sleep in the dark for the most part. That's how we're made, right? We need that. We need sunlight. I mean, it's a lot harder to sleep during the day, right? It's a lot harder to take a nap during the day. We're talking about naps too. Anyone like naps? Wow, that's like most rooms. So, okay, everyone likes naps. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Yet, when you were a kid, it was a fight every time to take a nap because you were ornery and cranky, right? Mood, if you don't get enough sleep, like we just talked about, right? Excuse me. So you have these cycles. So before you get rest, so you have stage 1 is your light sleep. And then it goes to your waves slow down. Then you get to the delta waves. They start to appear. Then you have stage 4. Then you have some no eye movement, no muscle movement, and then it gets to rapid eye movement, REM sleep. You guys ever heard of REM sleep? Yeah. Probably heard that before, right? So that's what we're talking about now. So what is REM sleep? So that's that 5 distinct phases, like I just walked you through here. That REM sleep makes about 25% of your sleep. This is that kind of that really deep sleep. That's when your dreaming is more during your REM sleep. About 70 to 90 minutes after you first fall asleep. Now you go cycle in and out of all these throughout the time that you're sleeping, several times. It's not like just one time throughout the night. This happens multiple times. That's why you ever have like multiple different dreams. You ever think about that when you dream? And sometimes some people dream a lot, some people don't dream hardly at all. You ever have one of those really weird dreams? You're like, what was I doing that I was dreaming that, right? Some crazy stuff, right? Sometimes we all have that, right? Or the best yet, you get mad at your spouse because of what they did in your dream, and you're like, I had nothing to do with it, like, right? And you've done it. You shake your head like you've done it before, right? So this is the craziest, right? You're like, you get mad at someone that's what they did in your dream, and you're like, they weren't even there.
What about sleepwalking?
Sleepwalking, that's another thing. Again, that's when you're so fatigued, you're like, this is nervous. This is exactly what we're talking about. Sleepwalking, or anyone, like especially your spouse in bed and they're having a bad dream, or a little kid, right? Something like that. I laugh at my wife will, she can't scream and yell for help, but she's trying to scream for help. So it just comes out like, it's happened a lot. I used to be, I would roll over and wake her up. It's like, it's okay, I'm here. Now it's turned into, you're fine. You're fine. So it happens over time, right? When you have enough time with each other and things like that, and then it's enough, you know what to do to wake her up. She bounces around in the bed a lot and like wakes me up. She tells me that she does it because I'm snoring. It's to wake me up so I stop snoring. And so we all have those things, right? And so we're talking about a little bit about those things that keep us from that good sleep here too. So I'm gonna go with some of my tricks we're gonna go through in a little bit. But again, we know your nervous system is what controls all of that. It controls for all those organs. So again, we know the brain controls everything, right? And this is where all this happens. This is where all this circadian rhythms, all those things all come from your brain. Now, if that's not getting through there properly to get out to those organs, how are they going to be doing the healing? If it's just if you get step on the garden hose, the water can't get through very well. It's going to be affecting how that works. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's also a big feedback loop. If the body, if the digestion isn't working, there's something going on wrong there. There's something irritating the lining of your guts, your stomach. Well, that's got to send a message back up to your brain. But if your brain's not getting that, you see how that starts to create a problem? It's this big feedback loop again, right? Everything's in that rhythm there. And that's so very important when we talk about that. Okay. So we call that a subluxation when your spine is shifted out of place, putting pressure on one of those nerves. And these are all just some of the signs to that. We're going to get into this a little bit more in detail later, but these are also warning signs that your body isn't healing, right? So in a lot of cases, you're not getting enough sleep. Now, one of the awesome things about chiropractic is we hear all the time, one of the very first things we say, they'll tell me, I'm sleeping a lot better at night. That's like at my regime, if not before that, they've already told me they're sleeping. Or I'll call them or talk to them after their first adjustment. I said, how did you do after your first adjustment? I slept like a baby last night. I slept so much better. I hear that a lot because, again, to put the body more in a state of ease, a state of relaxation, put it more parasympathetic, and now it can actually function better. It can recover better, and thus they're a lot more energized during the day. Does that make sense? So, past here. So, sleep apnea, right? I know all you guys, I have your history of those of you guys that come in here that have sleep apnea, but I also see that line on your face from your strap, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? You can tell that person up, especially right away in the morning when you see them, they have sleep apnea because they have a machine because they have the strap marks on their face from having it on their face all night, right? That person that's Darth Vader in bed, right? I could not. I don't know how you guys sleep with that if they do.
I can't sleep without it now.
It's like that seems like so horrible. I could not do that. But this is why you have sleep apnea is because of these things. So we're going to and it can lead to blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, obesity. These are all factors in there. They all increase this. But we're talking about what is sleep apnea? What's happening here? So here's the normal. You're breathing through your nose and your mouth. It all goes through there. But when that's choked off and that's locked down here, they can't get through there, and so you're not getting enough of that oxygen in. You're not getting enough airway in. So what controls that? Your nervous system. Again, it relaxes that too much, and then it drops down, and that's blocked off, so it can't get through there, and now you have trouble breathing. So, but the problem with sleep apnea machine, what is it doing? It's trying to force air in there and making you breathe. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to force enough oxygen in there so that you breathe. Now, there's a time and place for everything, right? But we don't want to do that long term. We don't want to be doing that, any longer than you have to be able to get through that. Yes, you need to recover. You need to sleep. Yes, you need to. Just like if you're in the hospital and if they're gonna do some crazy surgery on me, knock me out. If they're gonna be cutting me open, I don't want to feel that, right? I don't want to feel that pain. If they got to drill a hole in my head, I don't want to hear the drill going into my head and feel it. I don't want any of that, right? Knock me out for that, right? As much as you can. Well, there's a time and a place for that. You need to breathe, right? You need to sleep. But on a regular basis for years on end, you see how that starts to really add up and create bigger problems over time. Because we know every drug, every medication has problems with it too. And so this starts creating a lot of other problems in there because it's never addressing the cause of the problems with doing that sleep apnea machine. It's just trying to get you through that moment. So it's all about the neurology here. So right here, that your trigeminal nerve, this is your facial nerve. You ever heard of Guillain-Barré or Bell's palsy, right? That's when this nerve, when it's being affected, and you see a person, like a lot of times you see it with a stroke, right? And the person, there's water coming out of their mouth or something like that. You see a lot sometimes from vaccine reactions, something like that. Sometimes too, that because it's affecting this nerve, it's affecting neurology. Well, this is what controls all that in here. So that tells us there's some damage to some of your cranial nerves, and where are they controlled? Right here at the very top of your neck. Does that make sense? So do you think the position that you lay down in can affect that? It's going to affect how your spine is. It's going to affect how that works. So we're going to talk about that here too, because the position you sleep in is very important. So we look at that. We need to have a curve in our neck from the side. We know this is not a good position, right? You guys all know this. This is not good posture. But how do we sleep a lot of times? Some people have like 2-3 pillows underneath their head. And they're stuck in this position in bed if they're on their back, or they're reading in bed at night or on their phone at night. Look familiar to anybody, right? They have like 30 pillows behind them, right? So or they have a huge pillow in their heads in this position. Well, how is that going to get through there? It's hard. Put your head forward right now like this and try and breathe. It's a lot harder to breathe than if you put your head back up top of your shoulders. See a lot deeper breath in, right? It just is, right? I mean, so we look at that. How are you going to sleep like that? Now, if you're all sleeping in a fetal position like this, it's a lot harder to breathe like that than if you're fully extended, right? It just is. It's just physiology, how your body works. So this is a big part of that. And so that top bone has to be at that angle. See that angle that's at right there? For that to be able to get through there. Now, if that's putting pressure up against there, putting pressure on that trigeminal nerve, affecting how that all works. There's your basic anatomy going on right there. Does that make sense? So, restless leg. Nobody knows restless leg? Again, this is your neurology right here. This is, and some of it's in your lower back, some of it's up in your neck here too. But again, it's that itching, that pulling, that feeling like they gotta keep on going, kind of thing like that. You'd be surprised how many times I have people come in here and tell me that this is one of the problems that they have. That they gotta move their legs because they feel like there's something crawling on them or something like that. As long as you don't have bed bugs or something like that. But we don't want that. But these are those things that can also happen in their arms too. And so this is the same similar type of thing as your neurology. Whoops, whoa, something way past there. So again, that's just that normal. Your lower back needs to be straight from behind, but if it's curved off the side, you see how that's putting pressure right there in that lower back. This is also there. It goes to your bowels, right? Gas, having other problems like that, or constipation or diarrhea. Things aren't working like they should, right? That means your guts are bowel. This is a huge part of your immune system also. So this is really huge when we look at that, the position that your body is in. Now, if your spine is in this position all day, every day, you're on the computer, right? Or you're driving. You can see how that's going to affect those things on a regular basis. So when you go to sleep at night, what's the position you're going to go to? That same position. So this is one of the things we look at structure, because your structure determines your function, how everything works. So sleep and weight loss resistance. If you're not getting enough sleep or correct sleep, you're going to have trouble losing weight. Anyone have trouble losing weight in here? Liars if you didn't raise your hand, because almost every one of you told me you wanted to lose weight at some point in time. Like I said, if you sleep right, usually about 5.5 to 6 hours or less, you're going to have trouble losing sleep, or trouble losing weight. So really important there. We talk about the consistency of your timing, right? So again, having that rhythm, you need to get to a schedule and stick to it. Obviously, everything's not perfect in life and all the time, but we need to be consistent with it. Now, I want you guys to stop it right now. I saw 2 of you just yawn.
It's contagious.
It is. You don't even have to see someone. You can be on the phone and they're yawn on the phone and you will yawn. So stop that right now. We're going to start doing burpees real quick. I'm not going to yawn or talk to a bunch of people. I know we're talking about sleep, but if you guys fall asleep on me, we're definitely going to have to start doing some movement here. We're going to change your physiology, right? All right. So we want that consistent timing. You ever have those morning blues, that Monday morning, right? Well, a lot of times, like, what happens? What do we do on the weekends? We do go. God, it's weekend. We don't have to go to work, so we're going to do these things and this, and we stay up later at night, and we don't get enough sleep, so then we want to sleep in on the weekend. And then by the time it comes to Monday morning,
You're all out of whack.
exactly. And so your rhythms are off, your body's not ready, it's not ready to go out and do what it's meant to do. Does that make sense? So we got to keep that very regimented. I want to keep that as consistent. Consistency is a super huge key to success in life, in anything, right? Consistency, doing the same things on a regular basis. That's what gets you the results. It's not going to the gym and, hey, I moved a bunch of weight today. No, if I go in, maybe if it's 20% less, but I do it every day, who's going to be stronger? The guy that's doing it consistently, right? How much stronger is your marriage going to be if you tell your wife you love her every day versus just on Valentine's Day, right? There's a difference there, right? It's the consistency that makes the difference. So that's what we talk about your sleep. We talk about their food choices, right? Are you eating a bunch of sugar, a bunch of processed foods, those refined foods, caffeine, alcohol? These things all throw off your sleep big time, affect how your body goes. Now we're going to talk about timing on these things here just a little bit here too, but these are all big factors in that. Not that having a glass of wine with dinner is the end of the world. No, that's fine. Whatever, you're an adult, you can do that. But if you too polish off the bottle, don't think that's not going to affect your sleep, right? Especially if you're doing that at 9 o'clock at night. Does that make sense? It's going to affect those things. There's actually, we talk about performance. Working with strength and conditioning coach from Minnesota that works with a lot of professional athletes. A lot of helps them get there. And so as a University of Minnesota football player, he was able to do better than anybody else. It was, I can't remember exactly how much weight, but they do a squat boom. Like every 2 seconds, had to go fire it again. And he could do it more times in a row in the exact same time frequency than anybody else. He was just way better than everybody else, and so stronger, so much explosive. He signed his several $1 million NFL contract. So his friends took him out, they went partying, right? Had some alcohol. You know what that he couldn't do that same workout again where he could repeat it any other time. He could repeat that workout and hit it on every time. It took him almost a month to recover from that, from one night of partying. This does affect you. Right? One night of staying out too late, having too much to drink, affected this professional athlete at this top level, affected him that much. So how you live your life is extremely important in this. Now, if you're eating Doritos and chips, you had that party, right? You had all that stuff, when you stayed up too late, you had alcohol, you drank ate a bunch of processed foods. No wonder you want to sleep in the morning, you feel like crap, right? And then the next day, you're kind of sluggish and going through it, you try and muddle through it, and you're still tired the next day because it threw everything off your body to get the recovery time it needed. Also, your toxicity, the things that we expose ourselves to. Now, toxins are in everything from our detergents that we clean our clothes in, to what we clean our house in, to the dyes and the colors in our carpets, our clothes, our sheets. We're talking about bed, how that can be extremely toxic. Fire retardants are almost in most mattresses, which is really big, is where we spend our time on mattresses. So they call it off-gassing, when we're breathing in these chemicals all night long. This is one of the most dangerous things. So this is one thing we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you some, for those of you who want to stick around at the very end, I'll give you a couple of different recommendations for some better choices when we talk about mattresses, because I know mattresses and pillows are going to be a question that some of you guys have. So I want to try and cover as much. I can talk for 2-3 hours. I have enough material here. This is big enough stuff, but I want to try and get through this as fast as we can. But I want to give you guys the things to actually get to it and actually get that quality sleep, have a better sleep, have a better recovery, have a better energy, and be more awake throughout the day. So exercise. Getting 150 minutes a week, a moderate to vigorous exercise is what they've said really helps the most with that. So doing your max T3, getting 12 minutes a day, getting that higher intensity, short duration type workout, you're gonna sleep so much better. Right, April, Sarah, you guys that you've been to that, sleep a lot better after you get your work on Tuesday nights, right? Because you've done that, you've gotten your body, you've gotten what it needs, and now it's going to be able to sleep better because you've used that energy too. And so getting that exercise is so vital in your daily life. Your body has a genetic requirement for movement. Your body has a genetic requirement for exercise on a daily basis. You need to move, right? We are meant to move. You ever have one of those lazy days where you're just almost going to lay on the couch all day long, and right? And then you're actually even more tired because all you did was lay down all day. You didn't move, right? You know, that kind of screws everything up, right? It's like that's how that goes. So no pets or kids in the bed. This is another problem, right? We have a dog right now, and somehow it's worked its way to be able to sleep in our bed. And I was going to put it in, but I didn't get it because my wife sent me a text the other day. It's a picture Like say if the bed is as wide as the TV, it's a picture of her like this, and the rest is the dog with this legs this way, pushing me off the bed, pretty much covering the whole bed. That's pretty much what it's like in our bed right now, if the dog's in our bed. Again, it affects all that. Kids the same way. You don't get a restful sleep if someone's tossing, turning, throwing around and moving around and has you got in this awkward position because you can't get up because someone else is, or the dog is pushing against you, leaning against you, or waking up to have to go to the bathroom 5 times a night, right? Something like that. So we want to get rid of that. 80% of adults that sleep with children have trouble with sleep. Yeah, right? Does that make sense, right? Because you can't roll over because you don't want to crush them, and there's all the different things, right? So, we got the right temperature, right? If it's too hot, you can't sleep, right? You ever had that? You know, in the summer, you're like, oh, take these covers off me. But if it's too cold, you're freezing the whole time. You gotta have that right temperature too. That's a big part, because if you get one way or the other too much, it's gonna affect your sleep and your quality of your sleep. Darkness. Most of you don't have a room that's dark enough, first of all. You need to buy blackout curtains. It should be pitch black. You should not be able to see everything in your room when you're sleeping. It should be dark, right?
Sleep mask.
Now we have so many, all these electronics and lights and alarm clocks and everything else that's all lit up in our room here too, right? Night light. You should never have a night light, and don't put a night light in the kids' room. It's going to affect their quality of sleep. They don't need a night light. Stay away from that light in there. Also, we talked about daytime. We're going to talk about that too. That's another one. I think that's what I have. The next year's sunlight. We need sunlight. That's a big part of it. It's vitamin D. We need that blue light. It actually helps us. The blue-green light. That's what keeps us awake and helps us produce the melatonin for later. But one of the good things you can do is, especially if you're spending we spend so much time on electronics now like that, especially at the end of the day, we want to be cutting down the time that we're in front of that electronic, that screen time, and especially that blue light that it's emitting, because it's going to have trouble sleeping with that. So we want, like, blue light glasses are a really great thing you can do now. If you're going to still be on your phone or electronics later at night, make sure you're doing that towards the end. You should start shutting down your electronics about an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed. That's going to help you get a lot more restful sleep too. That's a big problem. A lot of people. My wife wants to be on her phone in bed. It affects her sleep big time. It affects my sleep too, because then there's light emitted from that too, right? So light is huge on it. So, talk about sunlight. So the light there. The screen time, like at night, like those things I was just talking about. So here's an example. They don't all look like that. Mine look almost like normal glasses that you wear. And I could wear them out in the sun during the sunny day, and it's almost like wearing sunglasses. And the fact that they're almost like polarized glasses that block some of the light in there, but they're not all colored. Some are colored. You can get clear lenses, or you can get pretty clear lenses too. But they block that blue light to actually help you be able to fall asleep a lot easier because it's not having that stimulation. I want to skip past this one. This is just how it affects, light actually affects the growth of even seeds and stuff like that, depending on that blue light. EMFs. You guys know what EMFs are? Electromagnetic frequency. Your cell phone is emitting it like crazy. Bluetooth watch, your Wi-Fi, all these things are affecting your body and how it sleeps. It's being radiated, essentially. That's what that's doing. That's giving radiation. And it can actually affect your DNA. It can break down your DNA and your DNA sequencing. That's all I had on here. So it affects how it can actually change that. So it changes what you're meant. So here's make sure I do it. Here's 1,600 chest X-rays. So this is like really intense radiation. Here's what your 24 hours of continuous mobile phone. The same as almost 1,600 chest X-rays. But how many people have that in your pocket all day long, right by your bed, all night? Ideally, that phone should be in another room. Does that make sense? Ideally, you should turn off put it on Do Not Disturb, and put it on, turn your Bluetooth off, turn your Wi-Fi off on your phone, because that's constantly putting that out to you. And most of us, I know most people now, your cell phone's your alarm clock, right? So you want to keep, better yet, keep it in the room or as far away from you as possible, Because guess what happens when the alarm goes off anyway? Then you gotta get up to go shut it off. But, right? Instead of having it right there, you hit snooze and snooze and snooze and snooze, and then you wake up, oh, someone sent you a text or a Snapchat or something else in the middle of the night. You had to look at it, what's going on? Keep it in another room. So that's one of the things we're talking about. So I'm gonna come back to the US Navy sleep technique because I don't want you to fall asleep before we get through this. So positioning, right? So position. So like I said, look at her neck there. Look, it's in this position right there. You can see how that's going to be affecting that. Also, when you're laying on your side, we want your spine in a neutral position, right? We don't want it down in a hole. We don't want it cranked up like that either. So we want it to be in that neutral position. It should be a straight line. Does that make sense? That's how that affects the spinal cord. So I kind of went into some of this already. So we should have those 3 curves in our spine. So this is why we have you guys doing that spinal molding, those rolls. And see how it helps put that curve in there like it's supposed to? Take that pressure off there, put the spinal cord and those nerves in a state of ease. Does that make sense? Not a state of dis-ease, which leads to disease, but a state of ease. It's relaxed, right? So here's an example. This is a friend of mine, Dr. Neil here. But again, here's how it looks like when you're laying on it. Same thing right here. Here's where your crown. So when we're in that crown slide, most of you guys that have wearing that, what's it doing? It's bringing that head back over top of the body instead of out in front of it, right? Another thing, doing your standing traction, how it's pumping, it's open, it's working that curve. You can see these are all important things. Doing your home care is so important to getting quality sleep, getting proper recovery, allowing your body to function at its best. So that's what it should look like there. But again, what are we doing all day long? On a cell phone, or on the computer? I could go to each one of you guys at work, and this is what you're gonna look like, something like this. And pretty much any given time, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you'll wonder why you have problems, right? You're like, I mean, what do and I have these same problems. I got adjusted today too. I did my homework here today too because what am I doing? I'm bent over a table all day adjusting you guys, and then I go sit on my computer. Then I go home and I gotta do stuff for the kids, right? I have all those same problems too. I'm constantly working on it myself because I'm being pulled that way all day long. We all are. You can't completely avoid it. You can't be perfect in there. So again, here's what that looks like on the inside, right? And so, or maybe you're driving the combine, the tractor, the same thing. Or you got another one here. So, or in the car, right? The forward head posture, shoulders slumped forward, hips tucked under. It's a big C curve in here, right? Instead of having that nice S curve. And so how that affects that spinal cord. So this is pretty cool. So this is, spine here has has more of a normal curve. It's lost some of the curve here. It's at 30 degrees. It should be 45. Here's one where it's almost completely straight. Well, this is a kind of a cross section through. So this is that spinal cord in there, and this is that black part. It's the canal. What's happened to it there? See, that's a lot smaller. It looks like it's just kind of if you took like a rubber band, you start to pull and stretch it, or a balloon. It gets a lot thinner as it gets stretched, right? What's happening is getting pulled apart there, right? So this is what's happening in that process. And this is why we're always talking about curves and things like that here. Does that make sense? We're talking about your structure determines your function. Does that make sense? I think I have one more. For those of you guys who do have any of those symptoms that we talked about before, at that big list, actually even, like I said, if you're not currently a patient here, we do have one of these health surveys here for you. Here's just a little bit more of another list on here. It's not complete, obviously, but some of the things, if you're having any of these things on here that tells us your body is not functioning like it should. These are all warning signs that your body is struggling, that there could be something like subluxation, something like that going on. So, and then how is it affecting your daily life here too? Because that's the biggest thing is, how is it affecting your quality of life? So what we have on here is has some times for you here. All you gotta do is reserve your time today. It's times right there at the bottom. All you do is write your name across the top, and then you're gonna write at the very bottom. And then either Maya or Brittany, if you want to raise your hands for them so they can see. Here, Maya's over in the corner over there, Brittany's over there in that corner. They're both wearing their pajamas tonight, so just for you guys. And so give it to the person in pajamas. If someone walks up to you and gives you stuff, that means it looks like you're wearing pajamas. Make sure you turn this in to help schedule your appointment. Okay, so. There is that part, $25, that covers the full exam, computer scans, orthopedic tests, neurological tests, weight scales, posture, range of motion, all that which would normally cost hundreds of, almost $1,000 if you went to your medical doctor. So what we do is, because you guys are here today, I want to make sure that you're able to get that in and do that. So that's that. I love this.
And should we take care of your nerves? How long should we take care of your nerves? Forever.
So this is my friend's son. It's a lot more cute with him. My daughter's 13. She doesn't answer it. It's not near as cute as this. So I'll see if I can play it again here.
Who heals you, Chris? How does he heal you? Through the nerves. And should we take care of your nerves? How long should we take care of your nerves? Forever.
Exactly. Now, this kid this small knows this, but yet how many of you guys have I told this to? How many times and you still struggle with this concept sometimes, right? And how many people in your life don't know this? But this kid knows this and has it figured out. Again, your nerves control everything. Your body is meant to heal. It's not faulty. It's not broken. You're meant to heal. It doesn't mean it helps. Nothing in the way. That's what we're doing, is to help remove that interference. Let your body heal. Have that amazing life you're meant to live. Get that quality sleep. Get that amazing day instead of being dragging throughout the day, as in the case of the Mondays, right? Have that awesome life that you're meant to live. That's what this is all about here. So I'm going to get into my fun little quick 20 little things to help. It's going to be a recap of what we just did. So, Dr. Dietz, 20 tips here. Number 1, power down. Turn those electronics off. Also have the electronics curfew, shutting them off at least an hour before you go to bed. Right? Have your bedtime ritual. Right? What you do, when you do it. Same time every night. Not, I go to bed at 8 o'clock this night, I go to bed at 11 o'clock this night, I go to bed at 10 o'clock this night. No, you want to keep it consistent. You want to exercise regularly, right? You want to make sure you're getting that workout in almost a day. That your body needs that movement. Naps, we didn't talk about that. Now, naps are okay, they're good, but 10 to 20 minutes. It should not be longer than that. If you're taking a longer nap than that, that can be effective. Naps can really help you get that quality sleep throughout the night. But if you're just sitting around all day long, you're going to have trouble if you sleep too much, if you have too many of those naps like that. So that's why movement, again, is key. Movement, then you can have that nap. But meditation and yoga, these are great for your mind, right? Shutting it down, turning it off. I just had a conversation with like 3 different patients today, just this afternoon alone, on taking time and breathing. It sounds kind of crazy that I have to talk to a patient to tell them to breathe. But we're all taking time and actual thinking about and just breathing. And doing things like yoga, meditation, things like that, shutting the brain off a little bit. Checking your diet at dinner time. Avoid those late night snacks. Make sure you're not having those processed foods, those sugary foods, all those things, especially for your dinner time. Now, if you have a schedule like me where we're running it constantly, I get out of here, then I'm going to pick up someone from practice, then go this and this. By the time we get home, if we don't have anything prepped for dinner, we're not eating until 8 o'clock at least at night. And like I said, I'm about 9 o'clock, my switch is turning off. That's not good. That's not a healthy way to go about that. So you got to do some things to adjust for that, right? We talked about the blue light glasses, right? To doing that. Your bedroom is for sleep only. Since we're all adults, are sleep and sex only. That's what the bedroom's for. Not for doing work, not for arguments, not for sleep and other stuff, right? So that's what the bedroom's for. Nothing else. That's not where you get in your fight with your wife. Don't do that. You don't want to bring that into the bedroom, right?
TV watch.
Don't watch TV then. Don't be on your phone then. Even if that's great, you like to read before you go to bed. That's great, but don't do it in the bedroom. Do it in the chair out there, so when you go to bed, it's sleep time. Your body knows that. It's just right there, automatic. We're talking about supplements. One of the great things, if you're having trouble sleeping, one of the things you can do to help, we have a supplement that's Sleep and Mood. It really is good for that. It also helps with your more of your depressant type things also. But it helps you just relax, helps you get that better quality of sleep. Has that 5-HTP in there. A couple other things to help your body just relax a little bit. So if you're having something with that, and you want to have questions on that, we can help you with that a little bit also. Avoiding caffeine and alcohol, especially at night, right? Which is when most people have alcohol. Everybody knows not to drink a cup of coffee or caffeine late at night if you need to go to sleep pretty soon, right? You're going to be up all night, right? You hear people saying that. Guess what also has caffeine in it? Chocolate. Some of you guys, that's your problem. You're having chocolate at night before you go to bed and you're wondering why you can't sleep. So you just gave yourself caffeine. You need to de-stress. I kind of covered that a little bit with that breathing and yoga and meditation, but you need to, we all have stress in our life, but how are you dealing with that stress? You can't completely avoid it. How are you handling that stress? We had a situation here this last Friday, our power went out during the middle of shift, right? Right when I'm taking care of patients. Gotta roll with it sometimes, just gotta go with it, right? Meantime, guess what? Our main computer stopped working. So I had to go buy 2 new computers, and then pay extra to have the information taken from the old computer to put on the new computer. Do you think that made me feel good? Get excited? Who wants my Best Buy bill? Anyone? Because, but that, again, what can I do about it? It's out of my control. If I can't change it, why would I stress about it? Why do I worry about it? I just gotta do what I can and move on, right? So many of us carry stuff on from past. It's past, it's past. We can't change that. It's happened. Learn from it. And focus on the present, right? That's what, it's a gift. It's the present, right? Leg pillow. So if you are a side sleeper, I showed you that one example with the head down or the head up. You want to make sure your head's in a neutral position, but you also want to make sure, put a pillow between your knees if you're on your side. Because what happens if I'm on my side, if I'm laying there? See how that kind of goes like that, shifts my hips over. If I put a pillow between, it keeps that spacing in there, it keeps it more that neutral position. Does that make sense? And that's why when we talk about pillows, this is one I recommend for you guys. See, it has this little cutout in here. So this is how it's supposed to be meant for. So you just, ideally, we would all sleep on our back. And see how this has that support for my neck from the side, so my head can go back in that hole. And I'm going to sleep like this on my back, like this the whole time. That's the ideal way. But maybe I toss and turn a little bit over, so I go to roll on my side. Now I have that support there, and my head's not over here where it's down in that hole. You want it up here where it's that thicker part now. So I can help hold that again with my shoulder and my head, so I'm in that neutral position. Does that make sense? This is why I like this pillow for, especially for people that toss and turn, go to their sides and on their back and forth. This works great for that. This is what I use. Like I said, every time someone buys one of these, they say, "Oh, I love that. I need to get 2 more for the rest of my family." So we have this. I didn't mention also. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are patients that have been here for quite a while. You know, anytime we do a workshop, everything here tonight, all of our supplements, pillows, everything's 10% off tonight. So stock up if you need us to load up on stuff. Neck in that neutral position I just talked about. Seal your mattress. I want to talk about some mattress types in a little bit here before we're done. But that one thing is that almost all your mattresses, your big box stores, anything like that, are have flame retardants in it, which are very toxic. They're carcinogens, and we're breathing that in for 6 to 9 hours a night. Think about that for a second. There's a lot of other chemicals in those things too. We want to lower the lights. We want little blackout curtains. We want to make it nice and dark. It should be pitch black, dark. If you got street lights coming in, you know, block that off somehow. You should have all your lights between your smoke detector, your alarm clock, all that, you know, the TV, the power cord here. This, you know, it's like you have all those little lights that you want to try and cut that out as much as possible. So watch the. Trying to read my own handwriting. I'm left-handed and a doctor. It's bad. Let's get ahead. Hush the noise, right? We want to keep that. You know, obviously, some people will tell me, "Well, I need the TV to go to sleep." That's one of the worst things for your quality of sleep. I know if I fall asleep, if I ever fall asleep and the TV's on, I have some crazy dreams. First of all, because I'm picturing, hearing some of that going on, and some of that's going into my brain. And I can never get a good quality sleep because of that. You might be so tired you fell asleep watching the TV, but you shouldn't have the TV on while you're sleeping, right? Again, that's that screen time right before bed. You're just going to affect your quality of sleep. Or turn down tobacco. Obviously, you guys know. If I need to tell you that tobacco is bad for you, at this point, I don't know what to tell you. You already know this. Beds are for people, not pets, right? No pets, no kids in the bed. If you want to have a good sleep. Watch the time that you go to sleep too. Just want to make sure that you're going to bed at a consistent time in there too. And the most important thing is your chiropractic care. Make sure you do that. research shows over and over and over again how it improves your sleep. That's one of the first things that comes across the board almost every time. I'm sleeping so much better. Because again, we're taking the pressure off the nervous system, allowing it to function and heal the best it possibly can. So, that is that. I was gonna go through that, the military, the Navy on here.
Did you talk about, stomach, people who sleep on their stomach?
That's one of the worst positions you could possibly sleep in is your stomach, so we want to avoid that. So what is that doing? I'm cranking my head to the side and bending it back. So what's that doing? Another one that's putting a lot of pressure on your arteries right there in your neck. It's choking, closing that off. What's it doing to your airway? It's choking that off. It's also compressing that nervous system, your spinal cord right there. So it's a horrible position to sleep in. Should really avoid that at all costs whenever you can. Especially if you put a pillow with that too, it really cranks on it. Yes?
On your pillow that you demonstrated, there's that curve in the bottom, hold up your pillow.
Yes.
And so how should you be sleeping with that?
This one is made for most of you are going to sleep just like this. It's got kind of a D cut out. The flat part of the D is going to be on the bottom.
On the bottom.
Now, if you're a bigger person, you have a bigger, longer neck, you may need to do it this way.
So what's the
But
difference?
one's a little thicker and one's a little bit higher than the other side. So you can see this side's a little bit narrower than it is here. But for most of you guys, it's going to be head here, body here.
And the
The
flat?
flat part of the D down.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
helps. That takes away from using that roll at night.
Yes, if you're using this pillow, you're not going to use the roll underneath your neck. That's why we have those sleep rolls for you. That's the ideal position. But again, if you toss and turn a lot, you lose the rolls. And then if you have no pillow, then or too much pillow, those type of things. So if you have trouble with that, this is a good solution to that problem. And then take the one that was under your lower back and you move it between your knees. That make sense? So this is a good way to do that. So I want you, since I'm done with this, we'll answer a couple of questions after we're done here, but here's the U.S. Navy pre-flight school sleep technique. So, you kind of try and do this maybe if you want right now. I'll wake you up if you do fall asleep, but, because you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. How's that? So, first you relax the muscles in your face, including your tongue, jaw, and the muscles around your eyes. So I'm trying to just relax those muscles in your face. After you have a moment to do that, now I want you to drop your shoulders as low as they'll go. And I want you to relax your upper and lower arm on one side. Now do the other side. Now I want you to breathe out and relax your chest. Now we're going to relax your legs. First start with the thighs and then your calves. And do the other one. So then, now that you've done those things, I want you to picture either lying in a canoe on a calm lake with nothing but a blue sky above you. If that's, either picture that, or I want you to picture being snuggled in a black velvet hammock in a pitch black room. I want you to picture one of those two. Either in the canoe with just nothing but a blue sky above you, just floating on a nice calm day, or snuggled in a black velvet hammock in a pitch black room. And the last thing I want you to do is say to yourself, don't think, don't think, don't think, over and over for 10 seconds. I think half of you are asleep already. You guys a little more relaxed right there, right? This is what they do, right? I'm like looking at so everybody's like, it's not that I have the most soothing voice in the world, I know that. So now I can put people to sleep maybe, but that's a whole other story. But so this is a technique you can use. And if anybody wants, if they didn't get it written down or anything like that and need it, we can get it to you, not a problem. So just let us know. but this is the technique they do, because you can imagine being in the military, all the things that they have to do, or you're on watch and this and that, shutting it off sometimes, especially in a war situation. A lot of intensity, a lot of sympathetic fight or flight going on. How do you shift that into parasympathetic? Again, our mind controls everything. And 90% of all your problems are between your ears. It's all mind, it's in your mind. You control what's going on there. So, last little cleaning, little events here. We have some upcoming events. You guys all have one of these little cards here. We have our community dinner coming up here in September. We have our Guts and Glory workshop. That's gonna be right here in the office. That's on September 20th. And then we have our VIP patient celebration coming up here in October. That's invite only, so make sure you mark on these things if it's something you're interested in. All you do is write your name down, hand it in, and when you all sign up, you don't have to do any more work. We'll take care of it and follow up with you. Make sure you fill those out, hand those in. Also, one last thing. For those of you guys who know someone who should have heard this, anyone else know someone who's still sleeping besides you guys? Liar if you're not raising your hand right now. You all do. So this is for that person, right? Write down their name. Like, you just write down their name and your name at the top. Or if you have a group that you think that I should come, whether it be your knitting group or your church group or your motorcycle club or whatever you have, whatever group you belong to, write that down here, the name of it. We'll follow up with you and see if there's something that we can do to help out them. Because that's our mission, to help save and change as many lives, help influence and make the biggest difference we possibly can in other people's lives. So that's why we're here. That's why we do events like this. So make sure you turn this in. We'll follow up with you. We're not going to call them or the group or the person. We're going to talk to you before we do anything else and see what's going on with what the person you wrote down or the group that you wrote down and what we need to do to follow up with that. So that is that. Maya's in charge of that program, so you want to talk to her about this if you have a more specific question. She's in the back corner right over here. With that, for your events, just hand this in to Brittany right over there. It's a little card right here. And if you're schedule an appointment on that stress survey, hand that to Brittany right there at the front desk. She'll be able to help you with that. Also, if you want to buy any supplements, you have that supplement discount sheet there. Just mark off, grab your stuff, and go up to the front desk, and Brittany will take care of you up there.
The pillows are not on the supplement sheet, but if you just want to go ahead and just write pillow on there, Brittany will know what to do from there. So
There you go. There you go. With that, we are done.